All right, thank you. So we're going to have a roundtable here. I'll throw some questions out to our panelists and they can each answer. And, you know, have some discussion here on some broad themes that will hopefully be of interest to you all. As Amelia was pointing out in the chat, there will be time after our panel discussion for Q&A with all of you. So at that time, you can either unmute your mic or pop a question in the chat, and we'll run through them from there. So to all of our panelists, once again, thank you for being here. Some of you have kind of touched upon this a little bit already, but you know, maybe if you could think about this from the perspective of somebody who's currently an undergraduate or a graduate student in college, and try to relate your experience in terms of why you chose your career path to what maybe they're looking forward to or ahead to from their position right now. So maybe a little bit about, you know, your career path and how that might relate to somebody in college at the moment. We'll mix it up a little here and start with Keith.
Let's see, I would say, as far as career paths, it's kind of a little bit different. I guess the path that I was on was a little bit different. I started off with college and then went into the military, and then actually while in the military completed my education. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do until I got into the military. So I would say as a college student, perhaps, you know, get as much experience as possible. Go out and seek out internships, especially in the federal government, because there are pathways in the federal government where you can intern and get as much experience as possible. And I think that would help guide and direct your decision making when it comes to careers. So I guess that's the best advice I can give.
Excellent. Thank you. Andrew, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to speak about my personal career path a little bit, I'm going to take it back about 20 years. I'm going to show my age a little bit. In 2001, I was a freshman at Michigan State University, undecided in my major. 2001 was also when we experienced the attack on the World Trade Center, 9/11. So, you know, as a current events buff, I was just really fascinated with the overhaul, or I guess the reorganization of our government at the time, and the creation of Department of Homeland Security, and just national security being one of the biggest issues at the time. You know, even as far as you know, I guess for that few years, even leading up to the 2004 election, it was a pretty big you know, issue. You know, that was something that had always interested me. I always wanted to serve my country. You know, I thought that maybe I could find my niche in, you know, in a position with the Department of Homeland Security. So fast forward, 2005, I received my bachelor's in political science pre-law. Actually joined the military myself after that as a reservist. So I spent the next year, you know, checking those boxes for boot camp for my school. And then in 2007, I was actually hired into Department of Homeland Security and the government in general with United States Border Patrol in Imperial Beach. You know, as I mentioned before, in 2009, you know, I went on to a career with Immigration and Customs Enforcement in San Diego, California. Spent 6 years there before getting hired with USCIS. Spent 2 years as an adjudicator. You know, just to reiterate, my workload was conducting marriage fraud interviews and our national security caseload. Eventually received a promotion, you know, to supervise, you know, said workload. So it kind of shows that everything comes full circle. You know, you just have to, you know, really keep your focus. Your goals are going to change, I promise you that. But you know, if you keep your foot on the pedal there, be flexible. You know, seize every opportunity that the government will throw your way. Try different things. Do as many trainings as you can. You know, any opportunities that you get to try something else. You know, I would encourage you to jump on that, because that's really the secret. You know, especially, you know, now is in my position, if you look at something like maybe the the Boston Marathon bomber. A lot of people say, well, how do we let these guys in the country? Well, that's my job to vet that. So, that's something I take very seriously, something that I'm very passionate about, and something that, I've just had to, follow through and make every sacrifice in order to, kind of land the position that I'm in currently. So that would just be my, my advice to you starting off is, you might have to take that first available job, but keep your head up and seize every opportunity, and just gain as much valuable experience as you can, because you're gonna find a lot of rewarding things with a career in the government.
Okay, thank you. Alexis.
Okay, Andrew, I'm going to make you feel better because I'm a child of the 70s. That means I'm super old. I know, I'm so depressed. But luckily I'm old. I'll forget about being depressed and I'll move on. So I was like the ripe old age of 8 when I decided I was going to be an FBI agent. I grew up with a lot of brothers, stepbrothers, and all boy cousins. There were 17 of us and I was the only girl. I got excluded from football games at Thanksgiving. I got excluded from playing in the dirt. I got excluded from all the fun stuff and was in the kitchen helping. And I really decided I didn't like that. So when they said girls can't be FBI agents, I made the decision I was going to do it. So luckily, as I got older and actually learned what the job was and what the mission was, I realized it really was in line with what I had passion for and a desire and an interest. So I continued and figured out my best path. The University of Maryland criminal justice major, because I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. Then I went to Georgetown Law, and I'm a member of the Maryland State Bar. But I took that opportunity during college to be a part of a lot of different things. I kind of reinvented myself from the vanilla high school where I didn't do much, and had the opportunity to be a part of all kinds of clubs and organizations, take leadership roles, be research assistants. I was also, I did the social sorority, so I did the drinking thing too. As long as you admit it on your background check, it's okay. But I took that opportunity and I ended up doing 4 different internships with the Marshal Service, with the state's attorney's office, with a law firm, with a bunch of different things so I could get some good experience under my belt and see the different areas. And it kind of reinforced, I really want to go and be an FBI agent. I want to serve the country. I'm not as brave as Keith and Andrew to do the military. It kind of scares me and I don't like being yelled at. But I wanted to give back in the way that I could. And I found that this was a good fit for me. So in law school, I did apply. So I'm kind of like you all are now. I was a student and I joined the FBI through their honors internship program in 1994. Oh, Lord. So I was an intern in legal counsel while I was in law school, and I spent the rest of my time after the internship was over, which was an incredible experience, exposing me to all kinds of different opportunities, career fields, and different aspects of the FBI. I was given the opportunity to finish while I finished law school, because Georgetown was only 3 blocks away from headquarters, and I could work in legal counsel. So I did for 2 years work as a professional staff in legal counsel, and then I went into agents class at 25. At the time, we were less than 10% female workforce in the agent body. So it was a different path, but very much in line with how I attacked problems and wanted to go about it. And I really enjoyed my time. So I've been a special agent for about 25 years now, and I have enjoyed all of the different aspects and the different camaraderie. I've enjoyed all the different ways we've worked with other federal, state, and local partners. I think that the mission is to protect our country is not for one agency. It's for all these agencies. So my encouragement to you all is to try the different agencies. While it's good to set your eyes on a goal, keep your eyes on the prize, but try and sample everything along the way, because life goes fast. And as you can see from all the current events, any minute it can change and the opportunities are gone. The only thing I can stress to everybody, and I'm hopefully going to speak for all 3 of us panelists, is we're looking for people that are making good judgments in life. We need to know that you are watching your social media, watching what you say, watching how you treat people, making sure you're staying away from bad decisions when it comes to drugs and alcohol. You don't think about this stuff when you're in college and grad school, but it can last you a lifetime and prevent you from reaching your goals once you actually realize what your goals are. So that is something we look for in our applicants, whether they're on honors interns or whether they're special agents.
Excellent, thank you. So you guys are giving some great detailed answers, which seem to anticipating a lot of my follow-up questions, but we'll plow ahead anyhow. I'm thinking now about, you know, a lot of the people here are probably wondering, okay, I'm coming to the end of my college career. I'm ready to graduate. What should be the next steps I should be thinking about if I wanted to apply for one of your agencies, right? How would I go about the process? Either starting it now as somebody approaching graduation or soon after graduation? What steps should students take and how should they prepare? And we'll start with Andrew.
Okay, so I suppose when it comes to applying for a position within my agency, if you have a pen, your best friend is going to be www.usajobs.gov, or you're just going to hear everybody say USA Jobs because that's where, if not all, the majority of the vacancies in the U.S. government are posted. I know there's some exceptions to that, but you'll find a lot of the positions that you're seeking there. Within U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, we have entry-level positions for Immigration Service Officer, and essentially, you know, it's an adjudications officer. It's just a long title for that. But what you would be doing is on a daily basis is, you know, a methodical interviewing and screening process of applicants for immigration benefits. And you'll see them from, you know, when you get started all the way through the culmination of it. So, you know, when a United States citizen travels abroad, falls in love, and they want to bring their foreign national spouse to the United States, you know, they petition for them. That foreign national applies for permanent residency, and we screen and vet that all, and we conduct the interviews on that. Further, when it comes time for them to become a citizen, it's a whole nother screening and interviewing process. So that's pretty much where our entry-level positions lie, is with that immigration services officer position. And again, it's basically just you know, adjudicating, vetting, and making a decision on applications for immigration benefits. When you're looking at USA Jobs, you're going to want to, whether it's with USCIS or any other organization in the federal government, you're going to want to pay close attention to the pay grade that you're applying for. You're not going to qualify for every single job in the government. Some of them are rather competitive. But based on work experience and education, you can get a leg up in some of those. So in addition to the pay grade, you're going to want to take a look at for the geographical region that you prefer. I'll tell you, if you're willing to move, if you're willing to get out of South Florida, there'll be a lot more opportunities for you. However, don't let me deter you. There are plenty of opportunities in the Metro Miami area and in Southeast Florida in general. But usajobs.gov, that's going to be your ticket there.
Alexis.
Okay, so FBI would be one of the agencies that doesn't play on USA Jobs, of course. So we have our own website, www.fbijobs.gov. So all of our applications and information are located on our website, fbijobs.gov. You can see information about the different career paths: special agent, intelligence analyst, entry-level professional staff, as well as our honors internship program. Different jobs will require different amounts of education requirements and work requirements. So the special agent position is a second career. So it is not an entry-level job. You will need already to have obtained a bachelor's degree and minimum of 2 years of full-time professional work experience, which will make you qualified but not necessarily competitive. So we say a minimum. It's usually about 5 to 7 years of professional work experience before people are successful in the application process for special agent. Intelligence analyst position also requires you have obtained already your bachelor's degree and have a minimum amount of professional work experience. So the entry-level jobs and the honors internship do not have requirements for having obtained your degree, but they do have requirements for being either in a full-time student status for the internship, undergraduate, graduate law, or PhD, or for the entry level, you can apply when you're within 12 months of having graduated, or you'll be graduating that year. So it kind of spans people who've recently graduated, it goes backwards a little, and then those that will be graduating within the next 6 to 12 months. The honors internship and the collegiate hiring, which is what that entry level job is called, are both have an open season. It's only open in the middle of August and closes at the end of September to get applications. So we do have opportunities. They're just limited, unfortunately, but in that 6-week period, we get almost 20,000 applications for the internship when we take less than 1,000. So we have a lot of resumes to look through in a very short amount of time. For the collegiate hire, we have thousands and thousands of applications, but we are dispersing them. And this covers all 56 field offices in the continental United States, as well as Alaska and Hawaii.
All right, thank you. Keith, do you want to chime in on this question?
Absolutely. Just like Andrew mentioned, USA Jobs will be the go-to site. Also, we have www.vacareers.gov for administrative work within, and I work specifically with VHA, Veterans Health Administration, and not to be a bearer of bad news, but it's extremely difficult to get an entry-level job in VHA just because of the number of jobs and the specialized training that's needed. Prime example, clinical psychologists, of course, you need a doctorate degree in psychology from an APA accredited school. Also, you need an internship. But you have applicants that also go get specialized fellowship training in different areas. So the more training that you have, especially for specialized clinical positions, the better off. For administrative work, you're actually competing against a lot of veterans due to veterans preference. A lot of veterans come out of the military, they have specialized training, and because of veterans preference, it puts them to the top of the list. So really, as a student, if you are looking for administrative work coming out of school, I would suggest do an internship or a fellowship program. VHA also has a administrative fellowship program for people with MBAs or MHAs or MPAs. With that degree, you can apply for a fellowship program. You'll come in and you'll learn under an administrator in VHA how to be a hospital administrator. Human resources, they have pathway programs to get into HR. So you can find more information on all those programs by visiting those 2 websites. Thank you.
Okay, so hearing a lot about how students can prepare and how competitive it is at the entry level, right? So maybe if each of you could talk a little more relative to your institutions, your organizations, but what do you think undergraduates and graduate students, while they are still studying, what kinds of things can they do that are going to make them more competitive when it comes time to apply? And, I think a lot of our undergraduates are probably thinking at this point, maybe I'd like to go work for the government, but not straight out of my undergraduate career. Is there another pathway that's going to take me there in the long run? So, and I'm thinking here, if you could talk not just about particular degrees or particular internships, but what kind of skill sets would make somebody a good competitive candidate for a job in your organizations or generally working for the U.S. government. Maybe we'll start with Alexis this time.
I get asked this a lot, so I have my My standard answer. We're looking for rock stars. So we're looking for people that have gone out and made themselves better in whatever way they want. So we don't have a standard answer. We look for all majors, we look for all degrees, but we are looking for someone that has spent their time being engaged in the public. So we are looking for people who are able to handle life. I tell people if a 4.0, but you stayed in your dorm for all those years does nothing. We're not impressed. We want people that were able to be part of clubs and organizations on campus, taken on leadership roles, volunteered in the community, held jobs, been a part of internships. So while we do want to see a good GPA and a strong course of study, we are looking for people that are multifaceted, that have the ability to multitask and engage with the public and be a part of things. We are public servants. Our role is to serve and protect the public, but we want people who are out there being a part of the public. So we do look for students who have gone out and been part of things. So I encourage students, while you're in school, undergrad, grad, either way, be a part of things, be a part of the clubs and organizations, stand up for some leadership roles, be a part of some organizations, be a part of voicing yourself and making your community better. So those are the kind of people that we do look for.
Excellent, excellent advice. All right, Keith, you want to share your thoughts on this?
Yes, sir. I concur with Alexis. We definitely need to see experience, and it doesn't have to be paid experience. It can be volunteer hours. You can go volunteer at the local VA. There's an application process and what's background process that you have to go through, but volunteer at the local VA, and because it's something that you can definitely put onto your resume. All right, thank you.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm really just going to piggyback on what Alexis and Keith said, and really we're looking for continual learners and leaders. I know you guys, if you're coming up on graduation, you might be thinking, I'm done with NSU. I'll never come back here. Well, not so fast. I assure you that throughout your career, you're going to want to jump into some courses for executive leadership. Maybe it's to learn project management or process improvement. But education doesn't stop just because you got your degree and now you got your position. We're looking for people who are going to try to make themselves more well-rounded, people who never stop improving, who will take constructive criticism and just try to make themselves again a more well-rounded employee. In particular, for my organization, we're looking for people who are resourceful. Just because we deal with the Immigration and Nationality Act, Title 8 of the U.S. Code, the Code of Federal Regulations. There's a whole lot out there that we apply to our job, and it's more than you can fit in the hard drive in your head. So, just being resourceful and knowing where to look for answers. On top of that, people who are vigilant. We have a saying that we like to give the right benefit to the right person at the right time. But you have to know when to be fair. You have to know when you're going to apply the law, and you have to look for for fraud indicators in my job, which those are the things that are going to help you make that right decision. So just being resourceful, being well balanced, and just being a continual learner and wanting to develop some leadership skills, I say what makes a successful candidate for our organization.
All right, well, based on being in the room and what you guys are saying, I think we got a lot of good candidates for you here. So maybe, maybe students are thinking, what's it going to be like if I end up working for the Department of Veteran Affairs, or for Homeland Security, or for the FBI. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the culture, the atmosphere, what it's like to work in the agencies that you work for. What could people looking forward to a career in these agencies expect over a several year expanse? Let's start maybe with Keith.
Yes, sir. Well, the Department of Veterans Affairs, our mission is veteran-centric. We have, I think, about 4 different missions within VHA, or within VA. One being caring for the nation's veterans through healthcare, through VHA. VHA is the largest integrated healthcare system in the United States. We have over 1,200 healthcare facilities. We serve over 9 million veterans each year. We also have the VBA, which is the Veterans Benefits Administration, and that consists of, getting the veterans the benefits they earn and deserve. Consists of not only home loans, but life insurance, education, a whole gamut. We also have the National Cemetery Administration. And lastly, we also have a duty to our nation as far as being prepared for anything that comes up regarding war, terrorism, national emergencies, national disasters. So it's a whole gamut of areas that you can work in with the VA, but I would probably say it's veteran-centric. You have to be passionate about veteran care and serving veterans as a whole.
All right, thank you. Andrew.
When it comes to culture within my organization, and with all due respect to Alexis and Keith's organizations, I usually describe U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service as the land of opportunity in the government. Just because in the past, there's no shortage of business when it comes to immigration. So we've always been really numbers driven, getting the wait times for applicants down, trying to get as many applications as possible adjudicated, and we've always set very high goals. However, a few years back, we implemented something called the Quality Workplace Initiative, which takes the focus off of the numbers and puts it back more onto making quality decisions and making more well-rounded employees. The agency wanted to put the focus back onto the employees, so we implemented new programs, new trainings, and afforded opportunities for employees to develop new skills in professional and personal development. So, don't get me wrong. Now that I painted a picture of heaven for you, and I'm promising you a top pay grade here. The agency still is very mission focused. We still do have a job. We do a very well job of meeting our goals because we keep our employees engaged and enthusiastic. However, the agency is always looking to develop that next group of leaders. So if professional development or personal development is something that you would like to balance along with your work life, USCIS is actually a great place to work.
All right, Alexis?
So the FBI is a paramilitary structure. So we are not as rigid as the military, but we do have a chain of command. We follow that. We have from the small squad to the supervisor and the ranks, and then the branch, and then the special agent in charge. And then we have 56 field offices and over 85 legal attaches where we're embedded in embassies all over the world. So we do have a chain of command. We do have that camaraderie that the military has. We're all serving a mission. The nice part about it is the job satisfaction. So everybody's really happy to be there. That doesn't mean we don't have days where we're not happy to be there. And I'm kicking the copier and I'm complaining like everybody else, especially when like sequestration and we're working for free for a month. But the ultimate goal in the mission that we have, that we're all sharing, it makes us feel very proud in our work product and happy to be there. And so that is a very gelling thought and culture. We do actually look at each other as family, especially on a squad. We spend a lot of time with each other. We get to know our squad mates very well. When hurricanes happen, we're out there putting tarps on each other's roofs and delivering different generators. We're taking each other in when we need to, but ultimately we're all doing what we need to do to get the job done and the mission accomplished, and that is just a great binding factor. And so that kind of is. As far as career development, the FBI is going to develop you as much as you're going to want to be developed. So there was a time that I was working a lot with the behavioral analysis unit, so our profilers, and doing a lot of work with them. And I had a lot of high profile cases. I was looking to go up to them. The Bureau actually paid for me to go back to school and get my master's in forensic psychology. So I'm an NSU grad. Thank you, and go Sharks. So I went back in 2012, working 60 hours a week with 3 kids running around and the dog and everything else, and trying to do my master's at night. But that was an opportunity the Bureau paid for and afforded me around my regular work hours. So there's opportunities if you want them. You just have to go with them. The ultimate goal is not personal satisfaction. The ultimate goal for the Bureau is the mission of protecting the country. But there's such a good satisfaction in doing that there seems to be a very good overall feeling in the culture.
Right. So all of you have obviously, a lot of experience working in your fields and working for the agencies you work for. I wonder maybe if you could each share with the audience here something memorable, something that stands out for you in your career that you think it would be interesting to share, a memorable moment, a big achievement, something that you think defines your work for you or the agency you work for. We'll start with Andrew. So Andrew, if you could lead us out on this question. Lost audio. Okay, so Keith, you want to jump in here?
Sure. Well, I've been with VHA for 10 years, and pretty much my work consists of physician recruiting. I'll probably say about 95% of it. The other 5% consisting of, because one thing that stood out in my career, probably back, I think it was back in 2006, we had a large veteran hiring fair in Detroit, Michigan. And at that event, because of the hiring authority for veterans, we had booths set up. We had veterans come in and pretty much come in off the streets with resumes. And we were able, I believe, to hire about 200 veterans that day. And yeah, it was a great event, and it really, really defined our mission at VA, which is, as I mentioned, taking care of veterans. So I think that was a defining moment for me.
Excellent. I don't know if Andrew, you're still struggling with the audio, but we'll give you a chance to get it going and go.
Yeah. I managed to call in.
Yeah, I'll give you another minute to work on it. We'll jump to Alexis.
I've had a lot of defining moments. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Very proud of the way I've watched some of my coworkers handle responsibilities. Having worked crimes against children and trafficking of children for 20 years, I saw a lot of heart-wrenching, sad situations. I was fortunate to be a part of many cases in which young children were rescued out of horrific situations. And so I've had many moments of coming home and looking at my own kids and kind of breaking down and realizing that I made a difference. And even though it wasn't the difference that's necessarily in the paper or what I thought I was going to be doing in my life, I made a difference in someone's life. It did also, all of these awesome cases and these awesome opportunities has led to a lot of missed opportunities in my own family. I've missed Christmases, Easters, birthdays, Mother's Day teas, kindergarten parties, you name it. I've had to cancel vacations because a lot of what I've done for those years was criminal reactive, and we had to go when we knew that kids were were having issues. My youngest victim was 1 day old. I had the case, this was a case, probably my first defining moment, where I arrested somebody for distributing pornography, child pornography. I was the undercover. We did the whole thing. I made the case and I arrested him. And he admitted that he was part of a group of dads that were online abusing their children on webcam, and that in order to save his own skin, he was willing to turn over the other kids. Denied that he had done anything to his children. However, on my undercover, I had obtained some statements. We were able to prove that he was in fact molesting his own 5-year-old and 7-year-old. I did the case. It took 2 years. I missed both Christmases, both Easters, almost every kid's birthday. Thankfully, my kids were small enough that they didn't really understand what day it was, so we could celebrate Christmas in July and birthdays when they weren't birthdays. But it ended up being a case that took a lot of my energy, and we ended up arresting 12 offenders from all over the country and rescuing 27 children out of abusive homes. And that case actually went up to Congress, and I was brought up there with the other agent that did the undercover with me to receive an award from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for rescuing them. And I think that was the first time I realized that I'm making a difference, and it's not just in the neighborhood. It's making a difference to keep people safe, and whether you're saving one child or the country and serving our veterans and making sure that the right people are coming into our country, we're all part of this huge mission. And I think that defining moment is when you realize you're making a difference.
Thank you. And it's a tough story, but thank you for your service. That really is a good illustration of making a huge difference. Andrew, I don't want to put you on the spot again, but are we live, or how's the audio going?
Yeah, I hope it works. I'm
Getting the reverb. I think maybe if you mute your computer, and then we'll hear you on the phone. Don't worry about it. You know, we're coming to the end of the Q&A. There'll be opportunities, I think, if you have specific questions for USCIS, we can address them in the chat, right? I just had really one more question that I wanted to ask, and then we can open it up to the audience. And you know, I've experienced this as somebody advising students. You know, we have a national security affairs program. A lot of our students will look to go into government affairs. In my department, we have political science, we have legal studies, we have history. These are fields which often, you know, lend themselves quite well to careers in government, and it's where a lot of our students gravitate. And one of the questions I always get from students is, oh my God, how am I going to prepare for these interviews, right? You know, the interview process for a lot of federal agencies is extremely challenging. You know, interviewing for any job is challenging, but you know, there are particular challenges, I think, which come with interviewing for government agency positions. So if you know, I'll kind of open this up if anyone wants to jump in on this and offer some sage advice for students who are anxious or would want to know, you know, how to prepare or how to you know, best approach an interview of this nature. Anybody got any advice they'd like to offer?
Okay, I'll jump in. So my number one advice would be go to your career services. That's what they're there for. They're going to help you with your resume. They're going to help you figure out how to get things properly done. They have practice interview questions. That's the best thing that you can do. For the FBI, we use behavioral questions. So that's what they're giving you. There's no longer questions like, are you reliable? Because everyone's going to say yes. I mean, the person that says no in the interview, I applaud them for their honesty, but yeah, they're not going to have a very long interview. So go to your career services. They have the resources. They have the mock questions. They have actual events for mock resume and interview practice. So you can actually get a good idea of how these questions might come and the different things that are going to be expected to you, but you have the resource there. And I strongly encourage students at their schools to take advantage of that.
All right. Keith,
Yes, sir. In VA, we have what they call PBI, which is performance-based interviews. So the best way that you can prepare for a PBI is pretty much sit back and think about your experiences relating to the job, think about your accomplishments, and sit down with a piece of paper and just write down, describe, things that you did and how you did it and outcomes. I think that's the outcome portion is probably the most important part of PBIs. Be knowledgeable about your job and stuff that you did and the outcome. So that's what I would say.
all right, thank you. All right, so I think we'll kind of open it up for general questions at this point. And there's enough people here, I think, though, that we can manage. If you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself and jump in. But you can also type a question in the chat, and I'm happy to ask it for you. So, any questions for our panelists?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Steve.
So I believe you said that for the FBI, the open season is from August to September. Let's say if you're about to graduate, like within this semester, could you still apply for the FBI right now and then just wait it out? Oh, wait, you're muted. I can't hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, sometimes people says that actually makes me sound better. Ask my husband. They're very smart at headquarters. They remove the apply now button when they don't want people to apply. So there's no way to actually submit your application when there's no opening. So I tell people the best thing you can do is go on the website. So you read about it, get your resume ready, get yourself all in line. You have to create a profile because the applications are all done on the website themselves. So you have to create a profile to do your application, but you can set it to have notifications to notify you when postings go live. So you can tell it, hey, when the Collegiate Hire Initiative opens up, because I'm graduating, I won't be eligible for the internship anymore. The internship requires you be a full-time student. Undergrad, grad, law, it doesn't matter. If you graduate, but you're going to grad school in the fall, that summer you're still eligible. But if you're going to graduate and you don't have another plan to go directly into another program, then the collegiate hire is the way. So you can set it to notify you, and then you can apply then. But the best thing you can do is kind of look at the website. We have core competencies. So we have about 8 or 9 core competencies. Ask me any day, it changes constantly. But they're the same kinds of things: leadership, collaboration, communication, flexibility, adaptability, all the things that we're looking for. So that's what we want to see in your work experience, in your clubs and organizations. So take an idea, and that's where I say, take those, go work your resume up so it's ready to go, because you've got the resources now, and if from the website you can see what we're looking for, and then you can tailor your bullet points and your action words and all these awesome things that the career people are going to help you with to make that resume stand out.
All right, we have a question in the chat. It's a good one from Frank. Who would like to know, and obviously this is important for people who are still in early stage of their undergraduate career. Perhaps they can make a difference in this area. Is it competitive to be fluent in other languages or a second language? Anyone want to jump in on this? Does it make a difference in your agency to have second language skills?
Can you hear me, David?
Yes, can hear you, man. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I guess that's one of the perks of working in the government is I have an IT specialist in my building who would help when problems like this arise. Frank, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I hate to deprive you of a real answer. I'm not sure that it's competitive when we're looking at candidates for the job, but it's definitely helpful in the job itself. It would not hurt you. We do have specific positions that are tailored to people who are bilingual that you might want to look for, again, when you're doing your search on USA Jobs. However, is one of the hiring officials in my organization, again, while being bilingual is extremely helpful and a great skill, it doesn't necessarily make you more competitive for one of the positions within my organization. To get your leg up on being competitive, I would suggest really reading the job description itself and tailoring your resume towards the job description, because believe it or not, the government's strange with a lot of things. We use a resume matrix in my organization where we'll score you on different areas based on what you put on your resume. So leave nothing out. Really tailor it to the job description. Definitely put in there that you are bilingual. Again, it's very helpful. Just I don't think it will give you a leg up.
All right. Keith or Alexis, you got thoughts on this, or shall we move on to the next question?
And VHA, it doesn't really hold much weight.
All right. Alexis, you were going to jump in there, yeah?
Well, so we do look for foreign language abilities. Obviously, we have cases that are touching international, as well as we're in areas such as Miami, which is a big melting pot of all different languages. So having employees either as linguists, as interpreters, or as special agents or intelligence analysts or whatever, being able to communicate with the public in their own language is very helpful and beneficial towards furthering our goals, whether it's getting information on possible crimes or protecting people. It's very good to be able to connect to your community. So yeah, we do value foreign language abilities.
All right, so we've got some questions piling up here in the chat. This one is from Ryan. He's pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Public Health, and wants to know, I assume, if his particular degree lends itself to any areas in your agencies, and you know how if he's looking at internships right now, you know, what kind of internships you might look at that might help him, you know, be more competitive in applying for your agencies. Public health. Anyone want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I hate to deprive you of a real answer again. I don't think I know. I can tell you that we do have employees within my organization that are from every background that you can imagine. If you're looking for something specifically related to public health, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I can help you out with that. But just to you know, give you a little piece of advice, if you are open, if you're willing to try new things, that you wouldn't be out of place within a lot of government agencies. You would probably be able to find your fit in just about most places. Best of luck on trying to find something, though, as far as you know, either an internship or future career within public health. If that's something you're passionate about, I think that's if you're able to land a spot, then that's fantastic.
Keith, Alexis, thoughts?
Hey, Ryan, I would, and I know you're an undergraduate and I know you're looking forward to graduate, but I would encourage you to go get a master's in public health, because in VHA, it opens up more doors. Particularly, it opens up the door to our fellowship program in administration, as well as other hospitals. I think nearly every hospital has a fellowship program in administration, and the Masters of Public Health will qualify you for that fellowship. So I would encourage you to go get your master's.
All right. Alexis, thoughts?
So we do hire all majors and all degrees, and they are used in all kinds of different ways, but we don't have anything that's specifically tailored to that degree. Just that we accept everything, and there you'll find a place. I mean, we do have, healthcare fraud violations and things that are specific to the health community and medical community, but as far as a specific bachelor's degree, it's kind of, you come into the FBI and you find your place.
All right, thank you. Alicia had a question about internships, but it looks like it's been answered. Summer has a question for you, Alexis. You had mentioned earlier about attending law school and passing the bar, but and Summer is a legal studies major, and I think planning also to go to law school. She'd like to know what made you want to go to work for the FBI rather than become a practicing attorney.
So I actually went to law school only to be an agent. And at one point I thought, as the process was going very slow, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be a lawyer for a while. Lawyers run in my family. And so there was a lot of law always around me, but I really wanted to go to the FBI. And I know that I knew then, and it's still true now, that they really do like to hire those with a legal background, those that are attorneys and have a good working strong knowledge of the Constitution and how to apply it and maintain everyone's civil rights and do everything in a way that where the evidence can be obtained in a manner that will actually ultimately do its job and not be thrown out. So it's really important to have a legal basis. So I knew this was a good background coming into law school, and now I possibly could have picked a cheaper way to go and not racked up the law school loan that I had to take out for Georgetown. But I was reaching for the stars. It was a big jump for me, and it sounded really good at 23.
Excellent, thank you. I can guarantee that our legal studies students have a good grasp of the Constitution. They'll tell you about Con 1 and Con 2 as their initiation process in that major.
Excellent.
All right, so anyone else got questions?
Yeah.
You look like you got a question.
I'm sorry.
Shannon?
Can I go or?
Sure, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, this question is for Alexis. Alexis, how are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
Good, thank you for asking. I am a PhD student with a focus on conflict analysis and resolution. I noticed that your agency has an ombudsman office. So my specific question is, would you be willing to share some background information about what that role entails with your agency?
I'm not as familiar with the ombudsman because I haven't actually used it. It's kind of like I've reading the manual or taking the class, but never doing it in real life. So I know a kind of a little bit of knowledge. So we have and the bigger umbrella is the Department of Justice. So the FBI is under the Department of Justice, and we have all of our legal units. And the legal units are enforcing the laws, whether it's the employment law, EEOC, Merit System Protection Board, whether it's our civil litigation unit, whether it's our national security law. So we have all these little lawyers doing all these different functions for us. But we have, like I said, the EEO and the employment law unit. So those are for internal grievances, and those are often using the ombudsman. So the ombudsman is kind of like a mediator role, right? So there's a grievance and they filed it and they want to handle it. Now, some grievances are not going to be dealt with on a small level because they're very egregious and they need to be investigated by a higher level. But on the smaller end, you want to invoke the ombudsman to kind of come in and try to mediate, to get to a common understanding, to make whole the victim if that's what it is, or to follow on and report the person if there needs to be some administrative or criminal sanctions. So the ombudsman is kind of your first role. So every office has someone that's designated as the ombudsman. That is the person you would basically reach out to. You have an EEO counselor in the office where you would file a complaint if you want to go that route. And one of the options would be, do you want the ombudsman to try to work through mediation with you? And that is somebody that, so we have them in the field as well as units and headquarters. But the bigger umbrella, just like our victim witness specialists, that are really part of the Department of Justice Office of Victim Affairs. So there's ombudsman local, there's ombudsman at headquarters, and then there's the bigger umbrella Department of Justice ombudsman that are really going to be there to enforce that.
Okay, thank you. And I have a second part to the same question. So I'm currently a Supreme Court certified mediator. Do you know of any internship opportunities for the role of an ombudsman or anything similar that would allow me to just enhance my current skills?
So we only have one internship opportunity in the FBI, and that is for undergrad, grad, PhD law. We have them all. I've had 50-year-old applicant interns. It's not an age thing. It's that you have to be a full-time student in one of those degree-seeking programs.
Mhm.
So if you're still, seeking your PhD and you're a full-time student in whatever that definition is, then you would be eligible to apply through our internship, and you could select headquarters and the legal units or the Office of Victims Affairs or any of those to kind of get your foot in the door that way. In the field, you wouldn't have an opportunity because all of the matters are EEO protected, so they're not going to bring in interns and external people to witness an EEO complaint. It's going to be kind of on the private level. So all that's happening behind the scene.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. I'm just going to go back to Alicia's question. She was asking how early she was able to apply for any of the 3 departments for internships while she's still an undergraduate. And Keith had responded anytime and provided a link. So I'm just curious if Andrew or Alexis, if you could answer that question for Alicia. Can they apply for internships at any time as undergraduates for your agencies?
Yeah, so I suppose it would really be dependent on if there's a vacancy open. Again, we keep harping on the usajobs.gov, but that's where we usually post our internships at. The actual title of the internship is student trainee, and the criteria is really that you're just enrolled as a student currently. As Alexis just mentioned, there's no real age requirement. So same as her, I've seen them both. The teenager through stay-at-home mom going to finish her finish her degree or pursue additional education. But I suppose I guess to answer your question and kind of sidestep it, it's never too early. It's just dependent on if there's actually a vacancy out there to be filled. We currently have 1 student trainee at the Oakland Park field office. And I think, given COVID, not trying to count that, I guess, probably since I've been there in the last 4 years, I think we've had about 3 come through. So the opportunities are there. Not a great deal of student trainee positions out there that are looking to be filled. I would just encourage you to keep your eye on usajobs.gov.
Alexis, is there any limit on when a student at any point in their undergraduate career could apply for an internship?
No, like I said, our internship is open to undergraduate, graduate, PhD, and law students. They do actually now, this is a new development, will not allow freshmen to apply, but frankly, we weren't picking the freshmen anyway. So that's the only restriction. You do have to be in a full-time student status. So that is one thing that has an issue for people. So you can't take a semester off. You have to be full-time during the whole school year, and you cannot graduate your program prior to doing the internship. So if you graduate in May, you can't be an intern that summer after, unless you are going directly into a graduate program in the fall, and you would have to provide proof of that.
All right. Alex asks, as an MBA student with significant work experience, is it common to hire folks from industry into positions that aren't entry level, right? So Alex is doing his MBA, he's got work experience. How does that translate into positions in your agencies that are not entry level? Keith has responded in the chat. for Alex, but Alexis and Andrew, you want to jump in on this?
Sure. So I guess just to see if I'm understanding the question right, as I mentioned before, and talk about the pay grade, if that's what you're asking about, within my organization, typically the position we hire at, especially if we're hiring from outside the agency, is the Immigration Services Officer. There is 2 levels of that. One would be a GS7 or a GS9. And if you want to get the GS, that's I think the general scale for the pay. You would just go on the OPM website and see what it is for this area here. But there's the level 1 GS7 and GS9. We do have a level 2 GS11 and 12, which is substantially more money. Usually those are filled based on experience. However, there is, that caveat where you apply using your education, which you would qualify for, on completion of the MBA, where you would be able to apply brand new to the government into a GS11 position, which is in a very good spot to be in. Not many people jump into the GS11 without climbing the ladder in the pay grades below that. If you're not asking about the pay grade itself and you're asking about a position like a supervisory or a management level position, I've never seen that done. And again, with the way that the resumes are scored, they would want to see a substantial amount of work experience in particular areas. So hopefully that answers the question. If you are asking about the pay grade, then yes, you would be able to qualify for at least a GS11 pay grade within my organization. If you're asking about the position, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
All right, Alexis, real world experience translate into higher level position hiring?
Oh, absolutely. So we do have our entry level positions, and those are really aimed towards young graduates and those with only a few years of work experience. But if you have work experience, the intelligence analyst is a position you can apply for. The special agent is a position you can apply for. Again, a lot of these are second career, so they're looking for people who have had a few years of practical work experience and developed some skills and abilities and good judgment. And so I encourage you to look at our website. I'll put it in the chat here.
All right, thank you. Lisbeth has a question.
Hey there, my name's Elizabeth. I just wanted to say thank you to the 3 panelists for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and talk to us. And for the people who put this together, thank you for putting this together. My question is, I am I'm coming to the end of my academic journey. I am enrolled in the master's program in National Security Affairs. So I'm getting ready to start filling out applications and trying to get into some of these agencies. And my question really is for Andrew and Special Agent Alexis Carpenteri. How long does the application process take? And how far in advance would you recommend that I put my application in prior to graduating this summer?
It's kind of a tough question because there's a lot of variables that go into the hiring. A lot of it is dependent on, it can be dependent on anything from like the agency's budget. Often, and sadly right now, in my agency, we are trying to reduce the size through attrition, and really the only way we can do that is to not hire and allow people to retire or move on to other positions. So it's difficult to give a timeline. If you do see an announcement for a vacancy, it's because we have positions to fill. We don't like to, have a half-staffed office. When we announce for a position, we try to fill that as quickly as possible. What usually happens is they will pool all the applicants. Again, I would recommend you tailor your resume to the job description, because the first round of applications are going to be vetted, and then to the field office, they will send the most qualified based on what they determine by looking at work experience. Usually, once we get that pool of the best qualified applicants, we start contacting you for an interview with an interview panel. And it's usually three supervisors, and we also contact you usually around the same time to submit a writing sample. In which case a third-party vendor usually emails you with a link, and they tell you have 30 minutes to write, and click submit. So I guess, geez, I hate to deprive you of a good answer again, but there's so many variables that go into the timeline for hiring. But what I can tell you again is, if you do see the vacancy, it's because we're trying to fill positions. So they're not gonna string you along for too long. Usually, you should be hearing something within a few months or so.
All right, Alexis?
Yeah, so the government is hurry up and wait. The average application for the FBI takes between 12 to 18 months from the day you hit submit to the day you actually get hired. It is a long process because every employee, whether you're an honors internship student, whether you're the maintenance guy, or whether you're the director of the FBI, has the same top secret government clearance, and it takes that long to get through. You have to have an entire background check, security clearance, polygraph, drug test, everything. So it takes a long time. As far as when to submit your application, because everybody wants to start really far ahead of time, knowing it's going to take a really long time. You actually won't get credit for your degrees until it's been conferred. So if you want to be seen as a graduate, as a student with a master's degree, you're going to have to wait till the next day after graduation till you get your diploma. So until you have the degree conferred, you really shouldn't apply. So it is not going to be one of those, I'm going to graduate on Friday and hopefully within a week or two I have employment with the FBI. That just doesn't happen.
Thank you.
All right,
Best of luck.
Jahir has a question.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me fine?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, let me see. Okay. All right. Okay, so Andrew and Keith, I want to say thank you for your service. I'm a veteran myself, and I definitely as part of the family. So I thank you guys for your service. But all my questions are going to be directly for Special Agent Alexis. So I have a few questions for Alexis as far as like kind of beginning to the process and moving forward. So similar to Lisbeth, I am about two to three semesters away from graduation. So you're saying that we shouldn't really apply until we get our master's confirmed to have that into effect in our application, correct?
So is it your bachelor's degree you're getting right now?
It's my master's.
Okay. So in what job are you thinking of applying to?
That's the second question where I wanted to ask. I already do feel like I had the skills available. I have 4 years of military service, and I've been working in the behavior analysis field for about 2 years as well. So I do feel like I have already the skills to be able to apply, but I definitely want my master's to reflect when I go through the application process, kind of to put me a little bit of as a standout from everyone else that is applying.
So I'm actually going to tell you that you're in a unique place. So I want to concur with you. Thank you all for your service in the military. I am always super grateful for everyone's sacrifice. And I do appreciate it. But we actually consider that full-time professional work experience. So you've already got 4+ years and your bachelor's degree. You're a U.S. citizen. You're over the age of 23. You're ready to roll. You can actually start your application now. Your master's degree, you would I don't think, what is your master's going to be in?
Same thing as Elizabeth, national security and international relations.
So yeah, I mean, you'll get a little bump from having the master's degree, but you already have, do you have veterans preference?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you already get the bump. That's going to give you the bump. So I would suggest you just start your application sooner rather than later, because you're already eligible. We do hire a lot of those that have served in the military. It's a very easy transition, because the way you all served your country and you took the orders and the instructions and you transferred when you had to transfer and you did the mission whatever you were told to do and you all banded together and got the job done. That's very similar to how we do it. That's why we call ourselves paramilitary. You know, we're a little softer and we don't like being yelled at, but it happens. And so, but we're all doing the same thing, and we're transferred and we're told what to do and we're working on the mission. So there's a very good transition from the military. So I would encourage you to go ahead and start your application. If you pass phase 1, it's good forever. So even if you decide, oh, I need to slow it down because it's going to happen too fast, you don't have to go backwards and redo the steps. As you pass each step, it's good forever.
And I've been looking a lot into those jobs. And I have 2 questions with this dilemma of applying for the job. First is, one of the divisions that I was looking for is counterterrorism, but I've seen that it's mostly in like you have to be an FBI special agent for a few years already. Is that common, or is that something that they do outsource hires as well too?
Well, everybody doing the work is a special agent, but there's brand new agents working counterintelligence and counterterrorism. So every office has every violation covered by squad, and every squad has some new, some mid-level agents, and some dinosaur agents. So it's a mix. So there's new agents working counterterrorism and counterintelligence, absolutely. And if your background is in that, then you have a likelihood of being placed on a squad to do that. What you're probably looking at is our headquarters units, and those are people in a supervisory role that have already worked in the field for a while and advanced.
Got it. Okay. And then I think the last question that I have right now, unless anything else comes to mind, is how would the FBI see it is if we're applying for the FBI, but we're also applying for other agencies within their government? Is that something of interference that they do not want to see, or is that okay as far as the application process?
You're going to date other people and ask us to be okay with that? No, honestly, it's very unlikely that people put one application in and hope it comes true. So we have a lot of applicants that have other applications pending. Here's what we tell you. You're going to get to a point in our application process that if you want to progress, you're going to have to shut down all your other applications. But until you get to that point, have at it. But what we find is that a lot of other agencies move faster than we do. So then you're going to have to make the decision, do I accept the job offer from the other agency, or do I hold out and hope that the FBI comes through? Because we can't give you an answer. Like, people will call up and say, well, I just got offered this. Can you tell me where I stand in this? And we can't. We have no idea. It's a long process. So I kind of told people, and when I was applying for the FBI and I was putting all my eggs in one basket, I had made that decision, like, I'm going to stagger my application. So I won't apply to anywhere else for about 4 months. Let me give myself a head start in the FBI process before I start other ones. But I know other people that did them all at the same time. But like I said, it comes to a point where if for you to have a security clearance, so for the background check in our office, you have to have a conditional job offer. You cannot accept a conditional job offer with the FBI while you have conditional job offers with other federal agencies pending. So at that point, you're going to have to make a decision.
Got it. Thank you so much for all the information. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Very good.
All right, some excellent advice all around. We're coming to the end of our session here. We maybe have time for one or maybe one more question, if there's any questions that anything we haven't covered, anyone would like to ask.
Someone just had a question in the chat room. Jahar has a few questions, Dr. King.
Oh, he just asked them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He just asked him. So
yeah, I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like the GPA, would GPA really matter when applying for like the FBI or any government agency?
All right, does GPA make a difference?
For the FBI, for the honors internship, we do have a minimum requirement of a 3.0 to apply, and that is a hard stop. So you have to have a minimum of 3.0 to apply for the internship. As far as other career, they do look at the GPA, but there's no hard and fast number. It's going to mostly depend on your resume and the things that you've done. Again, a 4.0, but you sat in your room and didn't do anything for 4 years is not going to be as appealing of a candidate as an employee as somebody that has a lower GPA but was part of clubs and organizations or working to put themselves through school or being part of the military or doing internships. So it's kind of a totality of the circumstances.
Okay, thank you.
Keith, Andrew, you got any feedback on GPA?
Yeah, actually, I think Alexis, I'm sorry, really nailed it on the head there. I think she pretty much answered that perfectly. Actually, you know, the USCIS is my third agency I've worked for, and I wanted her to answer first because I know the Bureau is different in a lot of ways, but this is my third agency. I don't think I've ever been asked for a grade point average from my undergrad. And as she mentioned, and again, nailed it right on the head, a lot of it is more, you know, dependent on work experience, the continual learning, the internships, and your activities. I think that's your bread and butter there.
All right. I just want to remind my students that hey, GPA does matter, at least here. And so, you know, but I think it's excellent advice. You know, a well-rounded resume is going to do you more good than a 4.0 with nothing else on your to show for it, right? So, Keith, you're going to jump in, I think.
Yes, sir. It does with the hiring manager. You know, to apply and to get to the hiring manager desk, I'm not sure because it's based on other criteria. I think experience carries more weight. But when you get in front of that hiring manager, he or she is definitely going to look at the GPA comparing you against other applicants. So I would say absolutely.
All right. I think this is going to be our last question, but Elizabeth just wanted to follow up on, you know, what professional work experience counts, basically. You know, when we're talking about counting professional work experience, is it any professional work experience, or are there specific areas that count more than others? And I know, Alexis, you had talked a little bit about this, so maybe you want to follow up on this question.
Okay, yeah, this is a big thing on the FBI site because everything qualifies it with professional full-time work experience. The definition of professional work experience, full-time work experience that the Bureau uses is any work experience, full-time of course, that requires a college degree to do. So in that line, so certain jobs, it might be full-time work, but if you didn't need a college degree to have it, meaning you did it before college or you did it while you were getting your degree, it's not going to count as your professional work experience because you obviously did it before you had a degree. They have a long list of things that count, but the bottom line is think about it that way, that you need to have that under your belt. And as far as the type of work, I mean, we all have critical needs. So cyber is huge, STEM is huge, law, accounting, engineering, and military and law enforcement. Those are kind of our bread and butter at the Bureau, but we take any degree. So some are filling more critical roles, but we'll look at everybody and anybody as far as the totality of their experience.
All right. How about USCIS or Veterans Affairs? Does professional experience count in terms of moving beyond entry-level positions? Any professional experience?
Yes, for VHA, any experience that's relatable to the job that you're applying for counts. So I would say yes.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, like Keith said, I think when we are, you know, vetting candidates for the job, I think relatable experience is something that we take into, you know, consideration just as much as professional work experience. That's again why I say, you know, if you're applying for a job with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, you know, again, you know, read the job description and really tailor your resume, just because, you know, the relatable work experience is something that, you know, we're just as big on. We're a public-facing agency where we're interacting with, you know, the public, attorneys, stakeholders, you know, every day. So while your, you know, your manager job at the Holiday Inn may seem, you know, not as great as some, you know, experience elsewhere, you know, if you're able to articulate that, you know, that you've dealt with the public before, that you've, you know, mitigated, you know, complaints or other problems as they arise, you know, that's something that we look at and we still consider it. So, you know, relatable experiences is just as important for us.
Excellent. So we're pushing up on the half-hour mark, which is our end point. But a couple of quick questions here. Steve has asked if you have a US CIS link that maybe you could put in the chat. And then Valeska has asked to Andrew and Alexis if US citizenship is required for internships with your agencies. So either Andrew or Alexis, if you want to answer an internship question, US citizenship requirement for internships.
So the short answer to that would be yes. Yes, you do need to be a U.S. citizen to apply for the internship.
Same here. I believe every federal agency has the same requirement that you have to be a U.S. citizen for employment.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Thank you to our panelists in particular who have given their time tonight and provided such wonderful information. Thank you to the Office of Career Professional Services, Emilio, Naima, for putting this together. It's been a good panel. I think we've done brilliantly to finish right on the nail at 6:30. So great questions, good conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Kilroy, for leading the panel today and all of our panelists and students for attending.
All right. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Kilroy.
you so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
You as well.
Thank you.
Can we add you on LinkedIn?